What's going on, guys? Today I want to talk about taping your wrist or wrapping your wrist for shot put to help prevent injury. First things first, I want to talk a little bit about why you would tape your wrist or wrap your wrist for shot put. The reason pretty obviously being that when you're throwing a 16-pound ball in college, a 8-pound ball for women, or a 12-pound ball for men when you're in high school, is very unnatural to your wrists. Coming out of your neck, snapping your hand is just something that you don't do all the time. So to wrap your wrist or tape your wrist is something that you can do to help prevent injuries that can occur in your wrist. So it's pretty important, and I want to go through it so anyone watching this video can have a better understanding of how to do it properly, a few techniques and strategies that different throwers use, and getting you on the right track so you can compete injury-free and have the best possible season. Alright, firstly I want to quickly talk about the rules for taping your wrist and fingers. The only rule that I could find by IAAF or USATF talking about taping your wrist and fingers for the shot put is that you can't tape your fingers together. Anyway, it's a bit of a stretch and I don't know how much that would actually help your throw, but whatever it is, IAAF and USATF prohibits that, so you just can't do it. You can, however, tape fingers individually if that's something that you're into. I know a few throwers that will tape around individual fingers, and that just helps keep their fingers rigid, so as they're applying force to the shot put, they're not as likely to bend or go in weird directions. The first thing to keep in mind when taping your wrist is that you want to keep your fingers spread apart with your thumb facing down. Spreading your fingers apart while taping your wrist helps keep the muscles in your forearm tight. That way, if you tape it, no matter how tight you want to tape it, you're not going to have problems opening up your hand. As opposed to if you taped it with your hand limp, you can put too much force on the muscles in your forearm, tightening up your hand, and you won't be able to straighten it out. That can start to cause some injuries and things like that. So start with your fingers spread open, because preventing injury is the whole point of why you're going to tape your wrist. So if you don't do it properly, you can injure yourself in other ways. So just take note of that. So there's many different ways that you can tape your wrist, and I want to go over a couple strategies that I've come across that have helped me and allowed me to find the proper tension for myself. Once you start taping your own wrist, after doing it a few times, you're going to start to find out different strategies and techniques that work best for you to give you the proper tension and the proper spots that work for you. Let me show you what I do to tape my wrist. The first thing I'll do is I'll pull a section of tape about 1 foot long, and I'll wrap that over my wrist. I start high up on my wrist, I go down, I come back up, and I finish when I'm back up at the top. For me, this is what I found works. It keeps it tight enough on my forearm. It comes up just high enough on my wrist that it feels tight. I feel like my wrist is locked in. I feel like I've got enough tension, and this is what I've done. I've done it for a number of years, and I do it for every shot put practice. So this is what works for me. I start high, I go down, I come back up, and when I'm at the top, I'll do 1 or 2 more circles around the top just to make sure everything's nice and firm in there. Obviously, athletic tape is the way to go. It's not too sticky, it's made of cloth, so you still get enough flex in it, but it still stays nice and tight. You can take it off, and even if you've got hair on your arms, it's not going to be too sticky, so it's not going to start to rip that out. I will say you can use pre-wrap, and that helps. That can help your skin from irritation. If you're a person that's irritated by the glue in the tape, by pre-wrapping it, it can help avoid that irritation. It can also help you when taking off the tape so it's not pulling out your hair. The next thing I want you to keep in mind, as you start to use different brands of tape, you're going to start to find different adhesive levels, and that's going to start to change how you need to wrap your wrist. So when I say I pull out the strip of tape first, that's because if you don't, and you start to wrap it around, when you're here, if it's really sticky tape, and you're trying to pull it on as you're wrapping it around, sometimes the tape's just so sticky that you accidentally wrap it too tight, then it's really uncomfortable. So to avoid that, you can pull down the tape, wrap it around, pull down some more tape, wrap it around, and that way you've got the ability to control the tension every time you wrap it around, rather than the tape being really sticky and you like accidentally wrap it on too tight. The next thing I want to talk about is Adam Nelson's technique for taping his wrist. I thought it was pretty neat. It's something that I'm going to have to try, and I never even came across it until I was trying to do some research for this video. So what he does, he starts a bit lower on his wrist than I do. I typically start up high. And work down and back up. He starts like 1 inch or so down from his wrist, wraps it down as low as he wants it, comes back up to the top, and then when he gets to the break in his wrist, he actually wraps it up a bit higher, coming around his wrist, Goes down and up higher, down and up higher. So by doing this, he actually gets the tape up higher on his hand, which can give him some more support on the back of his hand. So I thought that was a really interesting strategy. So for tape, there's so many different strategies, and I don't want to say there's one strategy that's the best strategy and that's what works. For yourself, you're going to find your own individual needs and the tension that you're going to want in different places. And overdoing it a bunch of times, you're going to start to find that. The big thing that you just want to keep in mind is keeping those fingers spread with your thumb down. That's going to keep the tension on your forearm, so you're not going to pull anything later when you start to throw a heavy ball. I quickly want to take this time to mention my sponsor, Velosa. If you click on my link in the description below, it's actually connected to me, so anything you purchase on the website can help me out. They've got plenty of super comfy apparel, including things like this awesome long sleeve shirt with a hood on it, which I love for being able to go outdoors and throw. If you're going out to retrieve your implements, especially discus or hammer and things like that, to just be able to throw on a hood, keep your ears warm, hold the heat in your head. Just a nice little bonus to have, so it's great for throwing. The hood's not too bulky and doesn't get in the way of holding the shot put in your neck. They've also got things like this Velosa wrist wrap, which is exactly what I'm talking about in this video. If you click the link in the description, you can find it on the website. This is going to be a lot cheaper than buying a bunch of rolls of tape, so it's something to consider. The website also has tons of different implements, including weights, hammers, shots, and discs. So if you feel like it, go check out the website, but let's get back to the video. The next thing I want to talk about is the Velosa wrist wrap. It's got this thumb strap that goes around your thumb to help you get the process started. Nice stretchy elastic and just some good Velcro to hold everything in place. These wrist straps are super easy to put on and a ton of throwers use them, which is why I want to talk about them in this video. Start by putting your thumb in the thumb loop. I start to pull it around my wrist, and I find if you start to pull, it kind of locks itself into place where you'd want it on your wrist. From here, just begin wrapping it around your wrist. Once you've put the Velcro on, it's in place. Next thing you need to do is just take the thumb strap off your thumb. You're not allowed to use that when you're throwing shot put. I just tuck that inside the wrist wrap, and now you're good to go. As you start to wrap your wrist using these more and more, you'll find where to put it. You can start to wrap it up a bit higher on your wrist, a bit lower on your wrist. You can start to pull it harder to get more tension. Very versatile piece of equipment. It's great to have in your training bag. If you're doing shot put, if you're doing bench press, if you're doing cleans, anything like that you just want to be able to protect your wrist. It's super easy to adjust the tension with literally just a pull of some Velcro, repositioning however you want it, and you're good to go. Now it's higher up on my wrist, so if I'm throwing shot put, I got a bit more wrist support. Or if you just want it lower and it's strictly on your wrist, super easy. Compared to tape, you've got a lot of different options for very quick changes in tension and stuff like that, especially if you want between throws, if you don't like having your wrist wrapped, just to be able to take it off, and now you're good to go for your next throw. There's no painful peeling off tape or anything like that. Hopefully this video answered your questions on how to wrap your wrist for shot put and gave you a couple ideas that you can take home and try out yourself for your next practice. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel. I'll be back very soon with plenty of different throwing content, so stay tuned for that. I'll see you guys.